One of the benefits of growing older, perhaps the only one, is that you can dispense with decorum and speak freely on a whole host of subjects, and in general, people will pass it off as senility. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, anyone who's ever had an axe to grind, let me tell you a thing or two about some things that just get under my skin. First thing is, I hate to be taken for a sap. I recently got a notice in the mail asking me to participate in a class action lawsuit against some nasty old mutual fund company with whom I have some money invested. I've seen the movies where these noble lawyers swoop down and file suits on behalf of these poor victims. And human nature being what it is, my first thought was, thank you God, my ship has finally come in. I quickly did some more reading. I zeroed in $75 million has been set aside for some nefarious action on their part. Wow, that sure sounds great. Well, how did this excursion into the world of high finance and legal intrigue work out? Did my ship come in? The one they assigned to me must have been the Titanic, because it most definitely has not arrived. I did some further reading of the fine print, and I discovered that financial iceberg. There in the middle of this form, it said that for every share of this fund that I owned, my payment would equal $0.0007. Now, for those of you who are mathematically challenged, I'll make this easy for you. Assuming I own 10,000 shares in this fund, and I assure you I do not, my payment would be a whopping $7. But as the television pitchman would say, wait, there's more. From this windfall of $7 has to be subtracted attorney's fees and expenses. Okay, so now I'm down to $350. Now subtract some miscellaneous fees and expenses, taxes, and I figure if I come out of this without actually owing anybody anything, I'm going to feel pretty good about the whole situation. Given the litigious nature of our society today, you may very well get one of these in the mail someday. If you do, I'd like to offer you 3 pieces of advice. First, read the fine print, no matter how troublesome and painful it may be. Second, curb your enthusiasm. And third, expect to be disappointed. Because chances are the only ones who are going to walk away millionaires are the lawyers who filed the suit. Now, are you ready for another gripe? Those of you who have been members for any length of time know how I feel about these stupid things. Now, let me tell you a thing or two about these. I've got a lot of reasons why I got gripes about these. First is, it's mandated that we buy them. By the year 2014, it will be next to impossible to purchase a good old incandescent bulb. Well, so much for choice, which used to be a part of growing up in this country. Second, as it stands today, every one of these bulbs is made in China. So here we are with an official unemployment rate of close to 10%, and our federal government, in its infinite wisdom, is forcing us to buy light bulbs made in China. They got the economic stimulus part right, they just got the country wrong. Third, these bulbs do not work on dimmer switches. It's all or nothing. Before I get to my last reason, how many of you have ever had a case of the Butterfingers trying to change an incandescent bulb only to have it fall on the floor and smash to smithereens?
Sure.
All right, Toastmasters perform mundane tasks, excellent. Now, cleaning it up wasn't any big deal. You just got a broom and a dustpan and you swept it up and you threw it in the garbage. That brings me to my last gripe. If you think you can do that with these types of bulbs, au contraire. These bulbs contain mercury, which is a fairly nasty material. So the EPA has established recommended guidelines for picking up one of these if they should break. I'll now give you what those guidelines are that I pulled directly off the EPA website. You should evacuate your room and ventilate it by opening a window for at least 15 minutes, preferably longer. So I guess you'd better not break one in the wintertime. Next, turn off all your central heating and air conditioning. Use a stiff piece of cardboard to clean up the pieces. Put them in a plastic bag which then needs to be sealed, or into a canning jar. Then dispose of properly. Now here's where it gets confusing. What does properly mean? Some poor woman in Maine spent $2,000 decontaminating her house because she followed the state of Maine's suggestions to the letter. Michigan is one of a handful of states that doesn't allow you to throw the bulbs into the garbage can. However, there doesn't appear to be much in the way of infrastructure set up to allow us to actually dispose of these properly. Lowe's and Home Depot do have a recycling program, and you could take your burned out bulbs there, but you may want to check before you do that. So it seems as though we have a law that's been enacted that we're supposed to follow, but there doesn't appear to be a whole lot of guidance to allow us to actually follow it. What then should we do with our broken bulbs? Well, here's what I would suggest we do, although I probably shouldn't because, well, I think it's illegal. And, well, we are in a church. But here's what I would do. I would sweep up the broken pieces, put them in an envelope, and I would send them to your member of Congress, along with a note, thanking them for creating a whole host of unintended consequences due to their never-ending crusade to protect us from ourselves. Then I would sign it Jeff Hampton. Fellow Toastmasters, I'm not senile yet, but every day my gripe list gets longer, and I could go on and on and on. But time constraints allow me to only focus on 2. So I'll leave you tonight with this final thought. If you don't wish to be prospective additions to my list, you'd better watch it. Mr. Toastmaster.